Hello ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, and none of the above, welcome back to We Love Your Deck. With this weekend being the release of Edge of Eternities, right now will be a perfect time to look into the upgrades for the Commander Precons, starting with the white, blue, and red counter-intelligence. Our face commander is the spacecraft, in spirit, flagship vessel, which has the ability to put +1/+1 counters or charge counters onto other artifacts, and if it has enough counters on itself, it also gives your other artifacts hexproof and indestructible. We'll primarily be looking into ways to proliferate our charge counters and draw more cards and tokens to make sure our spacecraft are properly stationed. Much of our proliferation will be repeatable effects, like with Flux Channeler, which proliferates each time you cast a non-creature spell. Or the pair of artifacts Contagion Clasp and Contagion Engine, which, on top of their proliferation abilities, also put -1/-1 counters on creatures to double as removal. Or if an artifact has outlived its use, Throne of Geth will have you sacrificing an artifact to proliferate. If for whatever reason either of the commanders from the deck don't interest you, Kaith, Famed Mechanist turns all your non-token creatures into 2-for-1s by either giving them a +1/+1 counter or making a servo token on top of being able to both populate your tokens and proliferate your counters. A creature that works great with both of those would be Anam Pakal, Thousandth Moon, which, as she attacks, will create plenty of gnome tokens for her power. Even our ramp works with our proliferation, like the Eternity Elevator, which will make 3 mana, or if it has enough charge counters on it to produce mana for the number of charge counters on it. Though not consistent with the amount of mana it makes, Coalition Relic will work as burst mana when it has charge counters on it. With our spacecraft needing tapped creatures to station them, Sammy, the ship's engineer, will also create more tokens if you have at least 2 tapped creatures. Speaking of Sammy, Wildcat Captain reduces the costs of all your spells for each artifact you have. Though not as pronounced of a reduction, Foundry Inspector will have your artifacts costing 1 less. Even though our commander's mana value isn't that high, Paydim, Console of Innovation, gives our artifacts much needed protection, and if you have the artifact with the highest mana value, you'll draw a card. Even our generic draw gets better with more artifacts with Thoughtcast and Voyage Home both have affinity for artifacts, meaning you'll get several cards for cheap. With all of our proliferation, Energy Chamber will either put a +1/+1 counter on an artifact creature or a charge counter on a non-creature artifact. Even if you don't have enough counters, the Chief of the Foundry will give your artifact creatures +1/+1. And finally, once our commander makes our artifacts indestructible, the board wipe, a blasphemous act, will be a one-sided board wipe. And that covers our upgrades for counter-intelligence. I'll be posting the upgrades over on my Moxfield. And as always, I'll catch you on the flip side, Planeswalkers. And remember, be good to each other.